In a previous sharing, we said that animals must be treated like people, and that people must be treated like souls. This was said. And someone is asking what it means to treat an animal like a person. Because generally, the definition of an animal is not that they are people, right? Of course. But what does it mean, right, to treat animals like people? For us to understand what we mean by saying that we should treat animals like people, we need the end of this sentence. This sentence by itself is strange, but it was not said like this. It was said that we must treat animals like people and treat people like souls. As souls, as people, as souls. One thing depends on the other, otherwise we don't understand. So to treat an animal as a person is to suscitate in them their next step, which is to be a human being on a different planet, on another planet. So, as in their evolutionary line, the animal has to become a human being. As soon as the soul emerges in them, they enter in the line of transmigrating to the human kingdom. So to treat an animal as a person is not to dress up the animal or send the animal to the hairdressers, nothing of this. It's for you to be in contact with that which they are going to be right after, for you to help them. So if you treat an animal as everyone treats animals, I don't need to explain how, you can see. If you treat animals just like everyone treats them, you won't help them in this point. You may sustain them in other points, but not this one, which is the spiritual point of the treatment, the way you deal with animals. So to be before an animal and treat them as a person. So you have to consider that within them, a soul information can be within them. And if there is a soul information within them, the way for you to help them is for you to treat them like a person or as a person, because this is what they are going to be in their next stage. Of course, this does not exclude for you to treat them as an animal also, because the animal cannot brush their hair, their fur, they cannot give themselves medicine. Animals cannot do many things as animals, so you also must treat them as animals, supply them in all these things. If the animal is close to you, under your care, or if the animal is in your orbit, in your destiny, you must treat them as animals. But not only this, because everyone does this, you must treat them as people. That is to say, that you consider that you are dealing with a soul in potential. I say in potential because the monad is doing an experience in the animal kingdom, and the work of the monad in the animal kingdom is to begin to form this soul nucleus, so that this nucleus may begin to reincarnate and that the animal may enter an individual evolutionary process. So this is to treat an animal as a person. So you have to have all of this into account, visualizing that this animal is a person in potential, or that they are a soul information. So if you have this awareness, and if you take care of this in a devout way, in a correct way, the evolutionary plan will send to you animals that need to be treated as people to accelerate their process of formation of their soul within them, within themselves. But these animals are not sent to any person, because if there is a soul information there, to send animals to certain barbarians would be just like a strain to this forming soul, on this forming soul. So you need conscious people, you need adequate environments so that the evolutionary plan may begin to send animals that are soul's information, because these animals do not have many places to go, because everywhere people treat them just like animals. And the same thing, it would be the same thing as you being treated as material beings only. How would you feel? As if you were treated as bodies of flesh, treated like this. How would you feel? So, we would have to start living as souls, not as human beings, as egos. Animals must be treated as people for us to help their soul to awaken or grow in there. And we must be treated as souls because we are waiting, some more, some less, for the soul to become, to act, to become the owner of the being, to act within the being, and for us to stop being human, to be soul, a soul, to be the inner being. So if you're going to treat human beings as human beings, you're going to do what people do when they treat animals. So animals should be treated as people, their next step, and we should see ourselves among ourselves as souls, because then we are going to be helped to live as souls, which is our next step, or to live as monads. But for this, we need to be treated like this. And our own soul knows how to treat another soul. We don't know. We do not know definitively, because we don't have this knowledge. But our souls do know. So we would have to do this work, to do this option of living as a soul, so that our soul may treat our fellow beings. The soul must be in our process. Our soul must be in our process. Otherwise, we continue treating everyone as people, as the laws of the earth demand. There are even laws to say how you should treat people. So this is the work. But this is a continuous work. This is a work that is perfected, gradually perfected, that is gradually developed as it is carried out, as you observe what you are supposed to do in the treatment, in the way you deal with animals, and how you should treat human beings. This is a knowledge that your soul has. No personality knows how to treat other human beings, because they don't know the inner state of that human being. They don't know the incarnations that human being had. How are they going to know how to treat them? So it is the soul that has to treat the other being. So this is what the sentence meant. And this is a learning experience. Now, this animal kingdom that we treat like this, just even like food, there are even people who eat animals. So this that we treat like this as food, this is a state of consciousness. This kingdom represents a state of consciousness that is between plants and humans. They come from the plant kingdom and they must enter the human kingdom. So they are in this passage from plants to humans. And this kingdom, in this time mainly, they have been receiving attention, very special attention from the hierarchy of the planet at this moment. And there are three rays, three energies, cosmic energies, that are dealing with the animal kingdom. Such is the effort that the spiritual hierarchy has toward the animal kingdom now. So there is the ray of willpower, which is working the will in animal kingdom. Because you see, the animal kingdom being continuously slaughtered so that they may not fade, they may not wane. They need will, right? A cow, a bull needs a lot of first ray to have the will to live, knowing that they will soon go to the slaughterhouse because they know they can feel it. In the animal kingdom, they develop this sense. So much before being massacred, they know that they are going to be massacred. And they have the will to live until the end because they have to fulfill the animal kingdom. The animal kingdom is fulfilling a process in that body, in that being. So the first ray is sustaining this whole trial of the animal kingdom. It is sustaining this whole situation of the animal kingdom because the animal created a karma and now this karma returned in this way. So will, the first ray, is sustaining them. Otherwise, animal life would have no longer stimulus to incarnate here on earth. So the first ray, willpower, is necessary to sustain this. So this is a ray that's present there, working a lot. Another ray that is working very much in the animal kingdom is the third ray, because the third ray is keeping the instinct, because the animal develops instinct also. Without developing instinct in a perfect way, they cannot start developing the mind, which is their way. So the third ray is taking care so that the instinct in the animal may reach the maximum perfection, and the animal instinct should tell them that we are their protectors, and not the instinct should not tell them that we are going to soon kill them. Do you see the difference of the work that happens within the animal kingdom? If their instinct shows them that they are being well treated, that they are loved, that soul that is going to be formed in there is going to be a sort of soul. But if their instinct is developed only for them to run away from us, or only for them to defend themselves from us, or only be frightened because their instinct tells them they are being to be killed, then the animal that forms the future soul is a different sort of material. So the third ray is striving a lot in this work in the animal kingdom. And the other ray that is striving very much together with the animal kingdom is the sixth ray, which is the ray of devotion. Because the animals need to have the maximum of contact with human beings, because human beings emit a wave, a stimulus, a vibration that they need to reach the human kingdom, to be a human being. So for them to have this instinct and for them to have this will to approach human beings, to be together with human beings from whom they can receive the energy for the next step, then the sixth ray is very much present, because the sixth ray is the ray of devotion that makes this, that creates this connection and develops in the animal something that they do not have originally, which is to be domestic. Animals need to be domestic to have contact with human beings, to have a positive contact and receive all the stimuli that they need from the human kingdom. So the sixth ray is fully working when an animal approaches you, or when you are in contact with an animal, when you are dealing with an animal. So the person is also asking, what does it mean to have animals here in Figueira? It means, first of all, that you are collaborating with the first, the third, and the sixth ray in their work. Because the animal kingdom are not our work. The animal kingdom is a work of rays of great cosmic entities. So we have animals here to collaborate with the first ray, with the third ray, and with the sixth ray, to collaborate with this kingdom. We have a debt toward the animal kingdom. Because humanity eats meat, so we have a debt toward this kingdom. Not only a material debt, but debt on many levels, many planes. So we have a debt toward the human kingdom. To have animals here would be, besides collaborating with the first, the third, and the sixth ray, would be for us to be cultivating in animals, helping animals to be with us, so that there may be this transmigration in them to another kingdom. And here we already have installed an environment, because we don't eat meat here. So we have an environment here, and we don't eat other animal products except honey, because we have authorization from the kingdom to eat honey. So the environment created here makes this work possible. So here, an animal that is in contact with Figueira, one of the things that their instinct tells them is that they can be saved here. This is what their instinct tells them. And there aren't many places that are like this, unless a house or another, a place or another. So we have animals here for this. And animals here are greatly important. Animals here are not just animals. They are here a task. They are a task for us, a spiritual task, because we are here also to suscitate in animals all of this, to keep their will, to keep their instinct turned toward the most positive direction possible. Their instinct can tell them that we are their brothers and sisters. You know that great spiritual beings call animals lesser brothers. A really spiritual being does not say animal. A truly spiritual being says, my lesser brother. So you see how we have so much to learn. Better saying, if we have learned, we have to practice, we have to put it into practice. So we need to learn to have animals here. Because animals here are with all of us. We all form this environment and welcome this animal. When we are aware of this, and when we place this, put it into practice, what will be able to happen is that there will be so many animals here, as many animals as stable beings. So if there are 50 human beings, 50 stable human beings here, there should be 50 animals. We are far away from this, right? Very far. So if we are going to approach these things, we should approach them in a more mature stage. And of course, if we manage to have one animal per person here who is lodged here, of course, one animal will not be with one animal per person, because there are people who do not know how to deal with animals. There are people who have other tasks, but they can be in this task internally. So other people would be in charge of taking care of more than one animal. But for us to reach this here, it's necessary for the group to attract this. And then the plan will send as many animals as there may be to develop themselves with human beings. And the plant kingdom will send here, the members of this kingdom, to be with us, because here we need to know how to treat a tree, how to treat a plant. All of this is a learning experience. So we are with all of this partially within our consciousness. Some act consistently with this, but others have not awakened for this. Or if they have awakened, they are not active in this work. And as a group, as a spiritual physical center, we would have the role of balancing the human aggressiveness, which animals are victims of. So here, our work is to balance this. So here, aggressiveness should be used in the last case. We should never say, I won't drink from this water, because at a certain point you may have the need to use this. But animals are here for us to balance aggressiveness, the aggressiveness that they normally experience. You see, in the animal kingdom, there are many monads, not souls, right? In the animal kingdom, there are many monads, because there cannot be an animal without a monad, obviously. So they don't have a soul formed, but they do have a monad. And there are many monads that in their previous stage, in another planet, these monads failed in their task. And these monads who failed were placed here on earth in the animal kingdom for them to restart a process. Can you see? So each animal is a monad that is restarting something. So this is a little hidden work, a little bit more hidden work. But we have the possibility of understanding it. So we are dealing with a monad that is in need of living as a fallen situation. Because the animal kingdom on earth is a fallen kingdom, just like the human kingdom, fallen. So a fallen kingdom that is aware has the task of standing up another kingdom that cannot stand up by itself. So they need us to stand up. So the monads in the animal kingdom need the human kingdom for them to remake their trajectory and then continue in their evolution as it is traced. And this is so much connected. There is so much connection between the animal kingdom and the human kingdom. This connection is so real. This thread is so true that our thoughts, the human mind, human mentality, the use that humanity makes of the mind is what keeps the animal kingdom in the wild stage. The animal kingdom will leave the wild stage. Many have left. But many animals have not managed to leave the wild stage, as you know. And these have not managed to leave the wild stage due to the influence of human thought, because the human thought is a thought that keeps many animals in a wild stage. So we have subtle works on all levels here. We have a lot to assume and a lot to practice. And as all these monads that are in animals have the human kingdom as a goal, the human kingdom is the transmitter of the energy for these monads to enter the human kingdom. We are the transmitters of the energy for them. This is a trial for the human kingdom. Now, the animal kingdom does not only depend on this, because if they only depended on this, the animal kingdom would be entirely wild, which is not what has happened. We have domestic animals who even have thought, as we know. They are in the human line in a very determined way, determined by the monad that is there. But this is a work that is sustained by hierarchies that we know that they exist. So there is our work together with these hierarchies. At this moment, they influence over the animal kingdom to cause this kingdom to find themselves again and resume the evolutionary path, to stop being a fallen kingdom. They are working in this. Manu, the instructor of the world, the lord of the civilization, a Buddha is working with this on the inner planes, on the subtle planes, on the planes of this entity. And there is a center, an extraplanetary center that we don't know, which does not allow itself to be known, because we know the planetary centers, which are 7. But there is an extraplanetary center that is linked with the cosmic entity that rules the animal kingdom. So this kingdom that is here, and we treat them just like anything, this is being worked upon by Manu, the instructor of the world, the lord of the civilization. This is creating a future civilization with this kingdom, a Buddha and an extraplanetary center. All of this is introducing in this animal kingdom all the seeds of the coming stage of it, human seeds. So they need contact with us. Figueira is the place for this, because here we do not have an animal to be an object of our care. You see that there are many people who do not know about this, who take care of animals, who please the animals. Here, animals don't like this, because the animals who come here are not for this. This disturbs them. So we have to introduce in these animals the seeds of that which they are going to be. Human seeds, mental seeds. This is why we are here together with them, and this is why they are here. Because here we have nothing more to do in our lives, at least those who are here consciously, they have no other thing to do in their lives but to collaborate with the evolutionary plane, the evolutionary plan, and try to understand their role within the evolutionary plan, and to be in the evolutionary plan in a free, correct way. So if an animal is slaughtered and goes through a supreme pain, they can be individualized with their sort of experience, stimulus. But this shouldn't be the stimulus for all. The stimulus should be through love for us. So we are here with a great responsibility. And animals have this gregarian instinct. Animals have this gregarian instinct. And you see that they are evolving because they abandon these groups of animals and approach the human kingdom. This is being domestic. This is domesticity working on them. So animals are learning to leave these groups of animals, to be domestics, to begin forming groups with human beings, to start making union with human beings. As they develop devotion, they have the sixth ray very active. As they develop devotion, they form a telepathic thread with the one who is taking care of them. This is why it is important for us to have someone who takes care of animals personally, because it is with that person that the animal will form a telepathic thread. If the animal begins to deal with all of us, if all of us are dealing with animals, it's necessary for them to have a certain evolution, for them to enter telepathy with all of us, but they still do not have a certain evolution as an animal. They need that which on earth we call an owner, someone who will take care of them, an individual who will take care of them individually. Because this is how they will learn to form this telepathic thread with humanity, and then they extend this telepathic thread. Of course, if an animal forms a telepathic thread with the one who takes care of them, if they have soul and reincarnate, if they form a telepathic thread with the next one who will take care of them, they will learn to do with this, and at a certain point, they will do this with the human kingdom. And then the evolutionary work in them will be much broader. And then this is how they will start being a social being. You see, everything we do normally, all of this is a role of human beings. We try to be social beings. There is even this word social that is very used. This is a role for animals to be social. We should have been social in the passage from the animal kingdom to the human kingdom. We should have a different relationship with our fellow beings now. Not a social relationship. Social relationship is for evolved animals. We have to have a different relationship among ourselves, which is not social. And we have to find, the soul will gradually make this other relationship among us. So you see that the animal kingdom teaches us a lot, and we have a task that is very broad ahead. But this is not a task for one or two people or the kingdom sector, because this is all of us, because while not all of us are aware before this and are not experiencing this, we will have a relative work, a good work, but very distant from that which should be, that which is the need. Someone is observing that we have excess of tasks, and that because of this, people do not see themselves in the higher purpose. It's not that there is excess of tasks. What there is that not everyone presented themselves for the tasks. Not everyone entered the path of fulfilling the evolutionary plan. So the tasks that are basic, necessary, are divided by those who are available. So are divided with those who are available. So those who are serving have a part of the tasks of those who did not present themselves. So there is not excess of tasks. There is absence of those who should be here sharing the task. And when we enter the spiritual path, we have an endeavor to fulfill all tasks. So internally, our soul or our monad is willing to assume tasks of those who did not appear. But this is all an internal fact. This has nothing to do with stopping understanding the higher purpose. It's the opposite. It means that you understand the higher purpose and you assume tasks of those who are not fulfilling them, or those who did not present themselves. And this is really like this. It has always been like this. And if you observe all those who are willing to work for the world, have received many tasks, but they are not excessive. They are the ones that are supposed to be. And then we learn to acquire a certain flexibility. We learn how to expand our strength, we learn how to invoke from our spirit an extra energy to be able to fulfill those tasks that would partially belong to others. This is part of those who have offered themselves to serve the world. We cannot prevent this, avoid this. Any person who really starts serving the world has to assume the task of someone who did not respond. This is like this in the whole planet, on the whole planet, not only here. But this that we don't understand the higher purpose, we have to consider that we see in others things that are ours. So sometimes there are certain things that disturb us and we refuse to see, but we cannot fail to not see in others. And if we see, it's because it corresponds to something that is within us. And it's very good because when we observe something in someone, the first thing we should do is to resolve this in us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be observing. Otherwise, we wouldn't be seeing. And then we are going to help others, or we are going to resolve this externally. But if you see something in someone else, it's because you have this within you to be resolved. Otherwise, you wouldn't see it or you wouldn't be disturbed if you perceived that.